last year. I green texted this event earlier today on X in a Skinwalker thread, but I lost it. It is long, but real, and it still makes me feel a little queasy. What do you think? Live in rural North NV. Them Nars gold in them hills, boys. No, but it really sucks. Hanging with 3 bros, drinking at the house. Call up some friends. It's desert party time. Drive into nowhere, on a dirt road, so we can shoot targets and shit and listen to obnoxiously loud music. 30 miles of driving, completely stark, barren desert. The dirt road ends at no significant location. Wow, that's weird. A bunch of other guys met us there. There are some hot-ass girls too. Oh lord. We set up tables and chairs. Get the bumpinest car stereo going. Everyone is drinking and firing a rifle into the hills. Shit is so cash. The girls hate the guns and are generally worthless. Some half-dozen weed-smoking members of our cohort nip off to smoke a blunt. Need to go to the top of tallest nearby hill to acquire the best smoking spot. Get to the top. The hill overlooks a valley, and on the side opposite us. Holy shit. There is an older structure in the distance. Maybe a mile off. It looks like a farmhouse. Exploring time, son. Get for everyone. This is going to be so awesome. It's still early evening. Still light out. As the entourage gets closer to the farmhouse, it becomes clear that it is really, really fucking spooky skeletons. The females are too scared to enter the unholy basilica because of the front door. Pick related. Jesus fucking Christ. It is a 1940s era, 2-story, very fancy farmhouse. Everything is thrown all over the place. It's absolutely covered in rat shit. If the 2 persons who procreate carry genes which are of better quality than the rest, why have you allowed us to breed like rats if population is what you feel threatens you? 1. We have not allowed that. You have more power than you think you have. 2. Population does not threaten us in any way, shape, or form. Again, a myth. I am curious what a member of an elite family thinks of GLP. So what do you think? The more divided people are, the easier it is to rule over them, making them believe they have a sword in their hand, which they think makes them powerful and able to fight the darker side, while it is just a toothpick. You have to be very careful who you give that imaginary sword to. Do you know that not just spoken words, but also written words emanate a frequency which have a direct effect? And I would say that a vast majority of the written words here are not helping the cause that you think you are fighting for. What is your religious affiliation? Religion is created by us. The religions which rule now are the ones that are under total control. I can't give out much about this, but Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism are a bit off, let's say. There is a core of truth, but it is drowning in a sea of perversions for you to pick out. Good luck. What we believe in does not matter, but it is about serving the divine law, which was passed on to us. How about the world economy? One thing conspiracy theorists are right about is that it is based on money that does not exist, never existed, and never will. The ones who own the banks also own the media and politics, so it can be portrayed the way they want you to believe it. When will the wheat be separated from the chaff? Or do you want to get rid of the wheat and leave the chaff for your slaves? Whichever. When will it happen? Tired of false dates. Please be honest this time. I know 100% sure there is no end time. At least not like it's being portrayed everywhere, be it religion, media, etc. This place was never meant to end the way it is being described. There will be a time when everyone will be released, but that is not a mass event, but rather one by one. Work on yourself. I'm curious to know why the elite do not lead. They seem to be more of a parasite on society. A fish in the ocean cannot see the birds that are flying in the sky. Have any of your family members ever participated in an occult ritual? And, if yes, what was the nature of it? Rituals have meaning which cannot be understood by most. Rituals are there to connect with the higher beings who govern this realm. We are doing our job. Well, I'd have to say your divine law has fucked up this planet and its people very well. Peasants like you do not understand that you do it. Nobody else. By the way, by what you just said, you lengthened your stay here on Earth one more lifetime. My condolences. Do you frequent the Bohemian Grove and fully participate in cremation of care, sacrifice to Malak? Those and other similar places are for the politicians and media people. They are obligated. Sometimes a bloodline will be present, but will not participate in those acts which are not the rituals we do. Do you consider the prevalence/success of organized crime families and syndicates a massive failure of your collective will? They are there for a reason. They aren't as successful as they look though. They are broken. Why do you continue to attempt to control mass consciousness by spreading fear through every outlet available to you? Why not set the knowledge free, as was intended long ago? The written word is spreading the wings of truth. The sword has been given to the sheep, and the day of reckoning is soon at hand. I believe in no law of divinity or hierarchy. We are all equal unto the eyes of the Creator, and for that, you must answer in your time. The meek are inheriting the earth presently. I pray for you. If that was the aim, it would be done in an instant. You do not understand what this world we live in really is. I have no questions. I do, however, have a statement. The time of reckoning is at hand. It is not. It goes, the best slave is one who thinks he is free. 13. Ultimately, it is all a matter of genes. Ne sais pas. Do you understand self-cloning? Do you agree that the planet is replete with false allies and false enemies? That's not how it originally goes about the slave. If you read carefully, you will see. Last question has a yes as an answer. There are also no real allies or enemies. Ope, if you are indeed who and what you say you are, then you will know that you and your ilk are in big trouble. Your time is short, and those you belong to, who are in our space quadrant as we speak, already know it. I imagine they are a tad busy right at this moment, but of course, you must keep up appearances, even when you know you fight a losing battle. Personally, I will be very happy to see the day, and it is coming, sooner than you think. There is no end of time. A long time ago, the people did almost manage to take over, and then bad things happened on Earth to those people. What are you saying now? Are you really living on the planet that you think you are? The higher beings
Welcome to a TLDR boss tier. Razageth is the final boss of the raid and has 3 phases with 2 intermissions. Phase 1 starts on the main platform with the boss. Have the raid stand behind the boss and tanks face it away. Electrified Jaws is a big tank hit of magical and physical damage with a heavy dot and a damage taken increase, so swap before you die if you can survive it all. Electrified Scales is raid-wide ticking damage for healers to deal with. Lightning Strikes are swirls so don't get hit, and Lightning Breath is a frontal on a random player, so watch the boss and don't stand in it. Static Charge makes 3 players deal fall-off damage and drop a big pool that slows you, so drop them at the edge and have the raid move into the boss to reduce the damage. At 100 energy, the boss does raid-wide damage and a pushback, so position yourself to get pushed into a pool and not go off the edge. Volatile Current makes everyone deal splash damage and spawn an ad, so you need to spread out and interrupt or purge the ad to kill it, so have everyone interrupt their own ad to get rid of them ASAP. Better check those talent trees for this one. At around 65%, you begin the first intermission, and the Vault Integrity bar will start ticking down. 3 Ruiner ads spawn on the 2 side platforms, and everyone gets thrown off the main platform, so split the raid and put markers on each side so everyone knows where to stand. The Ruiners have a damage shield that spawns above bunch of smaller ads when you break it, so interrupt the acolytes, burn them all down, then move on to the next one. On Heroic, players also get Surging Blast, so move out if you get it. And the boss does an overhead breath, so check where it is for yourself and don't always trust the call out. Kill them all as soon as you can to give you more time in Phase 2. After all the ads are dead or you reach 50% integrity, the boss returns to the last platform to start Phase 2. The tank hit, swirls, ticking damage and volatile charge ads from Phase 1 still happen here, so deal with them the same way if you don't have the memory of a Fury Warrior. Tempest Wing is a big wave you need to run or blink through, with a hit of Raid Wide and a pushback. At 100 energy, the boss casts Storm Surge, a damage shield with ramping Raid Wide damage while it's up. Pop a healer cooldown or 2 to survive, but if you don't break it in time, you'll probably fucking die. Everyone also gets given a positive or negative charge, and stacking with the same mark gives you a damage and healing buff. On Heroic, if you're close to an opposite mark, you'll start zapping each other, so have one group run to the middle of the boss and the other stay on the
breath incoming. Pushback incoming. Move to center. Breath incoming. Pushback incoming. Move to center. Spread. Pushback incoming. Move to center. Breath incoming. Move to star. Spread. I'm out of range. Pushback incoming. Move to center.
Your end was inevitable.
the edge. Fulminating Charge targets 3 players with a massive circle, so if you get it, get the fuck out of the raid, and if you hit anyone, they get it again. It also slows you, so don't be the priest who needs to finish their their cast before moving. Deal as much damage as you can, and when you reach 0 integrity, you'll start the second intermission. The boss goes back to the sky to do her breath, and a storm fiend ad spawns in the middle. Ball lightning shoots out orbs to dodge, so don't get hit. Crackling lightning is ticking damage for healers, and every so often it teleports away, dealing raid-wide damage and spawning ads that will run back to him. If they reach the big ad, they'll heal and buff it, so push them, slow them, fuck them, whatever you want, but swap and kill them ASAP. On heroic, you'll have 2 storm fiends, and killing one will buff the other, so split the raid and kill them at the same time to avoid this for too long. And after they die, you'll be thrown back to the main platform to start phase 3. This will be a DPS race due to the expanding storm at the edge. Tempest Wing and Fulminating Charge happen here, so stack on one side of the boss and have the circles get as far away as possible. If you run out of room, have them commit Sudoku in the storm instead. And the random frontal happens as well, so watch out and don't get hit. Tanks will now get an unavoidable beam, but it also deals raid-wide damage based on how much damage he takes, so use defensives and externals to lower it as much as you can. And lastly on heroic, Magnetic Charge makes a player deal fall-off damage and pull everyone to them when it ends, just like Zymox. Have them run to the other side of the boss or as far away as they can. Kill the boss before you run out of room, or your tanks are the only ones left. Congrats on clearing the first raid in Dragonflight. Now we can relax and try not to think about when we had to farm domination shards. The final boss of the raid and
who govern this realm. Do you serve them? By what names do you call them? Have you ever seen them? Where do they reside? They penetrate everything, and they are benevolent. Dang, Insider, you skipped my question about what really hit the Pentagon. Does that mean you are not going to answer it? Does it matter what hit it? Too much question dodging. I did not sign a contract which says I have to answer everything. Some questions do not need an answer, and others do not mean a thing, even though you think it does. I will be back tomorrow. How strange that some of you who talk about love, light, and peace are the ones who 2 sentences later cuss and talk about murdering others, smirking about it being soon. Are you sure you are on the good side? And who is Natasha? For the ones who are a bit smarter than that, ask away. I will answer the way I choose to. Before you ask the question, force yourself to think outside the box that was created for you by others. Ask a real question that you thought about. Formulate it in detail. For the others, if you could leave out cussing, hate, bigotry, and prejudice, which is based on your guru's amazing wisdom, it would show that you are a bit more evolved from the peasant stage. I will not answer all questions, sometimes because it is obvious, if you think about it, or parts of it have been answered. Other times, because I do not have an obligation to do so. So, is Bill Gates more elite than you? How about Queen Elizabeth? Are you an Arab? Can't you control the oil instead of the Arabs? The ones you know the names of are not true bloodlines, like you have been taught by theorists. They are not the ones who write the symphony, neither conduct it. The ones you mentioned and other known names merely play the violin or cello when they are told to, the way that they are told to. It does not matter what race I am, it has no effect on anything. Oil is already under full control, like all natural resources. Why does visualization work? It does not work for everyone. You have to reach a certain stage in your development. This means living by strict rules, applying them to everything you do in life, in detail. Most humans do not have the discipline, nor temperance, to achieve that stage. Some here talk like they can, but I know, even without knowing anything about their lives, that they are further away from it than they think. Visualization works because it is an essential way of the creational process in this material universe. The universe is a living entity who uses its mind to create, and the beings created from that may have that same power within their boundaries. Now the question is, who is using Ike? And a better question, why? Ike has a core of truth he is trying to pass. What he does not realize is that this actually works against him. The reptilian part was fed him by the ones who work for the bloodlines. In a period of 7-8 months, he was bombarded with victims who witnessed shapeshifting, satanic rituals, etc., in such a way he could not refuse to not believe it. Sometimes the witnesses were led to him a few times a day, depending on his location. Others like Ike, and there are more than you think, have been fed similar stories. Really, I am not reptilian. The answer why does not have to be answered. Hello, Insider. Are you part of the Divine Brotherhood? Are you ME? Are you he who manipulates the Matrix? Inquiring minds want to know, because I am thoroughly confused. You say we despise you, but I could not imagine despising any being from the Divine Realms. Then you act like you're part of the elite bloodline on Earth. But what would bloodlines have to do with the spiritual world? Again, I'm confused. Could you clarify? Just what is the elite, of whom you say we despise, and yet who apparently has all the inside scoop? You are confused, for you have accepted the other versions of the truth, and you think you have a sight of the big picture. But what I say dismisses huge parts of it. There is a misconception about bloodlines, obviously. The questions that are being asked here prove that. But there is a reason for that, and it serves an important purpose. We manipulate this world only as far as we are allowed to, by divine law. We provide you with tools, and then it is up to you to determine how you use it. Tools can be used in a malicious way, but no one is forcing you to use them that way. You are choosing to yourself. So despising the ones who provide you with the tool that you voluntarily choose to sin with is about you trying to camouflage your tracks. You get what you deserve. That is how this universe works. We do our duty, so do yours. There is a very old saying, unrecorded in open history. The devil does not know he's the devil. He thinks he's a god. Wrong. It actually states that humans who worship the bad think they worship the good. You do not understand what this world we live in really is. Care to elaborate on this statement? Only if you formulate the question and understand that certain questions need to be answered by yourself only and not others. Otherwise, they have no purpose. Hey 13, I'm not coming back to your planet next time. Smoke on that. What gave you the impression that when the time comes, you have a say in that? What is the reason that your people came to this planet? Almost the same reason that you came.
Move to center.
Now, what elite family does anyone know well enough to despise? To clear this up once and for all, the Bushes are not bloodline. In fact, they are your kind who wanted to be worshipped by your kind. I will sum it up again in short. The ones that have known faces and names are not directly bloodline. They are not the composers or conductors. They just play the flute the way they are told to. Bushes, Clintons, Sharons, Hitlers, Dalai Lamas, Mandelas, Blairs, Gores, Chavezes, Gandhis, Kennedys, Lenins, Dylans, Einsteins, Michelangelos, Popes, Caesars, Aristotles. They all played their part the way they are/were told to.
Spread.
These people who love recognition and praise of your kind would not be allowed in the same room with some people that I am related to. Insider, rather than give them a sword or a toothpick, I give them a canvas and a pen. The words, as you say, have vibration and effect. And though yes, many that are written here are contrary to the one, some ring true. It is those few that matter most. I was recently asked by a friend of mine, what do you do when you have mastered the game? This seems like a question that would apply to one in your situation as well. My answer was, save as many as you can. I am curious to know, what is yours? If it has an immediate effect, it is not a canvas and a pen anymore, but a sword. An imaginary one, but nonetheless a sword. And it is not working the way that you think it does. You say most are contrary to the one, and that is true. In fact, almost all is contrary. But you say because of the few that ring true, it is worth it. You cannot have two contrary essences at the same time and place, even though they may have the same spring, which means one of the two is not present here. Do I have to tell you which one that is? About mastering the game. How does one know they have mastered it? Does someone else tell them? See, if the master is not really a master yet, he acts like one. It will mean he will make errors. He will have flawed thoughts and act accordingly. People will start listening to him and adopt the flawed opinions and way of living. Eventually, he will do more harm than one bloodline actually has the power to do personally. Hence why leaders have been created for you who have mastered their game. Jesus of Nazareth is a nice example. He was created. This human has many worshippers, and they have murdered in his name, and still do. Bush. Jesus of Nazareth was not a master of the game. He was a puppet, being used in the game, and he is still serving the agenda among you. See, you might think you are saving as many as you can, like him. But are you really? How would I answer the question? What do you do when you have mastered the game? Checkmate. Is Earth a prison? Yes, and even worse. The ones who believe the contrary will never escape.
Phase 2.
Why, oh why, would an alleged member of an elite family waste 1 minute of their time, or give credence to the cesspool that is GLP? Bloodlines are not robots, who act all the same. You are confusing the ones who you think control you with others. Now on the population reduction. We have a few brewing, like AIDS. However, it has been my feeling that the release of a bio will be in a timely fashion, cloaked in chaos from another event. What say you on that? There is no plan to reduce the population. That is fully in the hands of people. However, certain events have been seen as just that, while they are serving another purpose, a misconception. Just because it comes across like population reduction does not mean it is exactly that. Really, if the goal was population reduction, it would have been done a long time ago, in a span of a few weeks. In fact, the opposite is more true in most areas on this planet. What you said could happen, but it would be done by the ones who control the lower areas. The ones higher up do it for the daily items that you consume. Was Yahweh an extraterrestrial negative entity, or was he a fiction invented by the Jewish fantasy factory during the time the Greeks ruled Palestine? If the name of an entity is public, it means it is fabricated. Yahweh used to represent an age where mass control was taking shape. Ah, so Mormons are the only ones who are barking up the right tree, authority and all that? No. Don't you get sick and tired of the lack of real quality in the music and movies? With your power, money, influence, why do you not prime the pump with some really good stuff? What are the 3 things that have concerned you about most regarding the upsetting of the apple cart? Things that are beyond the direct control of the PTB, that you are scrambling to prepare against. Who owns and runs the show on planet Earth? Please list the major player groups who actually answer to each successive level, beginning from the top down. Descriptions are fine if you don't want to divulge names. Is it like a pyramid, or is it a number of factions vying for power or control? What is the real story on the Greys, and are they still major players currently? What do you fear the most? What is the real story you have not told us, because we have not asked yet? The ones who search hard will find the gems of music. In fact, they are out in the open. It is not our duty to enlighten you. That is yours. We hand out the tools that can be used in the way that you choose to, good or bad. Nothing to do with us, but with the puppets. The shape of the pyramid, yes, but people forgot the underground chamber. The top of the pyramid is not the top. Fear is based on physical impulses. The physical is not important. My full-blood Italian maternal lineage traces back to King Charles I, but by name Count Dotto, who was the captain of the archers for Prince Philippe, and who was part of the coup to secure the secret from the Merovingians and the Knights Templar. I won't discuss the secret, which I am sure of, but I don't understand why you operate in the fashion that you do, and I operate in the fashion that I do then, as a result. This does not mean that I am of any particular bloodline that is part of the ultimate that you speak of, but my life is far more progressive than anyone that I know, scientifically and professionally, regardless of the economy. Change thereof coming shortly, and I do see the illusion all around me. Explain this, please. I have explained it a bit. Your lineage is not what you think it is. Charlemagne, like other kings, merely played the flute, like his descendants do now, in politics especially. However, if there are traces of the lineage within you, and this goes deeper than just blood and genes as you know, then obviously you will understand your surroundings better than others. There are people who are directly linked, and they will act differently. Do you think, Insider, that this current battle is in two stages? Now, on the etheric, and 1,000 years from now, on the astral. Once all the heart people have dropped their physical bodies and have graduated to higher life forms, the next being the astral. Then, the whole show starts all over again, with different players. You are confusing a few matters. There is just one struggle, and it is now. Here on this planet, and on a personal level, meaning you only. There is no enemy you can attack except yourself. If you are busy attacking someone else, you are wasting precious energy, and you will fail. If you succeed, there will be no struggle anymore. Dear Insider, you state that we have the tools to work with. Can you tell us some of them? Something to work with so we may free ourselves? You agree that we are on a prison planet. I thought more like a zoo, where we are being observed and studied. But if we are on a prison planet, then I must understand that we truly have no free will, correct? The tools are in your hands, around you, everywhere. It is even being drawn out of you. It is your duty towards yourself to reveal them to yourself, and then do as you please with them. There is always a consequence. Prisoners still can determine what they do in their prison, with the tools that were provided to them. They can decide how to walk in the yard, how to talk, how to think. You have free will, therefore you suffer, and are aware of your suffering. Dear Insider, thank you for answering my first two questions and your time. I should have asked this question with the first two, but alas I do now. Why give me tools to escape a prison? Sounds counterproductive to what a prison is for. I have known that the PTB are puppets, moved around by hands that we cannot see, nor may ever see. But why make them look and act, seemingly, stupid or at least illogical? Are you wanting a revolution? What you are saying is that war is within, not without. Though TPTB seem to want us to think it is without. Why distract us? What is it that they don't want us to accomplish? Freedom? And yes, I am reminded every day of my suffering. Thanks. We are neutral in doing our duty, which many times comes across as being negative. If you observe closely, you will see we merely spread the tools, which can be used by you, to free yourself, or chain yourself, your choice. The divine law has a purpose for you, and it is not on this planet. Prove you are worthy again to be released. The distraction is part of that. It is about knowing who is and who is not. The ones who support any of these known faces are failing. It sounds like you are cautioning Trinity against giving full rein to freedom of speech. Is this correct? He may do as he pleases, and accept the consequences in the bigger picture. What is your interpretation of the divine law, and how can I make peace with myself? Knowing yourself and where you really are the two most important issues that you should be involved with. It is your task to find out. In fact, if someone gave you the correct answers, it would not mean a thing to you, for they would not be attached to you in a way that they would if you would have found them yourself. Note, I am Insider AC13. The former proxy I was using disappeared, so I'm using another one with another ID. Statement by Insider. Insider AC13, yet another proxy. The last one disappeared too, right after posting. It is getting difficult for me to enter and stay here, but I will go on as long as possible. Are you familiar with the Black Nobility? I have traced and linked all ancient royal families of Europe and the Middle East, still present to this day. I know their names and their connections to power, wealth and influence across the world. I can even identify the very person who is the potential Antichrist. He has all the correct makings, a wonderful, benign young man, who has yet to realize his full potentiality as a world leader. The Black Nobility love this young man. And lastly, are you a small part of the Black Nobility, Insider? The Dark Nobility is a faction which operates on their own. They have different roots, which have been described in texts written to my ancestors. It is a much smaller group than most would claim, because the core is different to the outer walls. They are the ones which you all confuse with my kind, and therefore direct the hate towards the wrong ones, as shown in this thread too by the lesser intelligent. About the Antichrist. There are at this moment literally billions of antichrists. I am not one. You will find them among Christians, Muslims, Jews, atheists, Satanists, agnostics, Buddhists, Hindus, etc. They don't need a leader to be more antichrist. I have to make clear that the Christ has nothing to do with Jesus of Nazareth. That part was later fabricated. Gnostic number 13. Do you subscribe to the view that our dualistic reality provides excellent opportunities for souls to develop unconditional love, so that they may transcend our dialectic universe, rather than escaping from it? Do you also believe in the law of balance and karma, allowing a soul to be king in one lifetime, a beggar in the next? If so, it does not really matter whether you are a member of the elite. It may be a unique experience on soul level, as unique as any role in society, as long as the soul progresses. Is the historian Lawrence Gardner a powerful member of the elite, as Ike claims, or is he just an average guy with access to hidden information? Thanks for your communication, Insider. It is the task of every soul to accomplish that while in this human shape. There is a part that can be called escaping, which will be followed by transcending, if failing reincarnation. However, the word love is misunderstood. It is meant to be the love in human terms, which humans are enslaved by. That is the corrupt version of the real one. The divine law controls what is karma, but it is much broader and harsher than people want to accept. Example, someone who gets cancer and dies a slow, painful death deserves it. That person is being corrected. It is for his own good. Sounds harsh? That's the way it works. Just because it comes across as negative in this realm does not mean it is negative in the big picture. What you are talking about, reincarnating into the opposite of your former life, there is no universal law which states that will definitely happen. Reincarnation is a fact though, but if you achieve your task, there is no reincarnation. No need to experience all levels of life on Earth, for they are mainly pointless to the experience. Gardner is one of those persons who wants to be praised and recognized by the people, so he gets it in return for some favors, spreading misinfo, which here and there contain the facts, which hooks people. He was initiated in certain levels, but it is not as in-depth as one would think, including himself. He is clever though. He is a member of at least 6 societies, although 3 of them are closely linked, and could be seen as one, so 4 at least. But these have only as much power/control as you, the people, give them. People like Ike are giving them more power unknowingly. I am real. Is this because Christians teach that individuals should be under the control of a God who is holy? Or should I say, one who judges right and wrong? Christianity is about idolizing a human called Jesus of Nazareth first, which is an abomination. Christians teach what they have been told to teach by the ones they oppose. I can tell you who the 4 individuals were who wrote the Hebrew Old Testament, and the exact date if it suited me. Same about your New Testament, which was gathered by 6 people from 2 different areas. And why do you misspell simple words such as malicious? I find that very interesting. English is not my native language, not even my second nor third, and I type fast without checking, so I can answer as many questions as possible in a limited amount of time. On top of this, I just realized I have to type even faster because the proxies I use disappear.
Pushback info. Move to center.
What if there was fundamental truths about our reality that were so powerful that the CIA and other government organizations have studied it just to understand how our reality actually works? What if the CIA documents and research that they've done on these specific meditations that I have right here in my hands, the research finding of what they learned about how reality may very well be a hologram, what if that information would actually change our lives from the inside out? Because we would then see what reality really is. Well, back in 2017, my life completely changed when I started listening to these meditations, which I've shared in a prior video, but just to give a quick update on it, these meditations were that of from the 70s and the 80s. They're meditation CDs that show how to expand your consciousness. They're guided meditations that use that of a technology called hemisync. And what it does is it gets the brain into certain brainwave activities where then you can explore different aspects of your consciousness. Things like lucid dreaming, astral projection, remote viewing. These are all things that the CIA looked at, researched, and made a whole document on showing their findings. And one of the interesting things it said about it was that we live in a holographic reality, and if we want to influence our reality, there's certain ways we can do that that will powerfully affect the outcomes we get into our life. Now, this is what I want to talk about more in this video, is I want to go deeper on this idea of understanding what are called thought forms and that of how reality may be a hologram. We may be in a virtual reality that appears to be real, but we are in fact eternal spiritual beings living temporary human experiences. But because we've forgotten this, we've continued to live in this veil of forgetfulness. Now, first off, let me say as well that my grandpa, who is the one who told me to get those meditation CDs back in 2017 when my YouTube channel began to grow, my grandpa told me, if you get this collection of CDs from the 80s and you listen to it, it will transform your consciousness. So I bought them, and this is right when I started on YouTube, and I think I maybe had 100,000 subs, and I had money, I had like $400 to go buy these CDs, so I did. Those are the same CDs that I just held in front of you, and I started doing these meditations. And one interesting thing I will say is another book that he gave me is he told me to get this book that was called Man, Visible, Invisible. And it's a book by some guy named C.W. Leadbeater. It's an esoteric book that's all about auras. Now, my grandpa, just to kind of give you a little bit more background on this, my grandpa is someone that was a very eclectic thinker. He would go to church with my grandma because my grandma was religious. He would go to church with her just because he would enjoy seeing the aura of the crowds change. He said that he would watch the pastor, and as the pastor would be talking about whatever he was talking about, giving his sermon, the auras in the crowd would change, and he would love to watch it like a light show. And he said that our auras were not so much just one color. You know how people will go to like an aura thing and people will get their aura red and say, well, you have a yellow or a blue or a green aura. And what would happen is then you'd be like, oh, that's my aura. He says the way it actually works is there's this egg structure around your body, and it has many different colors inside of it. And based on the emotions you feel, determine what parts of the egg have different colors within it. So it could be that you might be angry and you might have a lot of red right here in your aura, but here your aura might be green or red or blue or purple or whatever. But it changes based on your emotions. So when he'd go to watch that at church, he'd see all these different colors in the crowd change as the pastor was giving his sermon. Now, in this book that my grandpa gave me, that's called Man, Visible, Invisible, it shows the different structures of auras and how to read auras, which I found very interesting. But this idea of this energetic structure around our body then brought me even further down a rabbit hole. So another book that guy wrote, C.W. Leadbeater, was called Thought Forms. Now, this book called Thought Forms completely changed my perception of what reality is and also what thoughts really are. Now, this also helped me understand the idea of my own energy field and why I get activated or triggered in certain ways. Why when I'm around certain people, I feel an elevation of energy or it's more resonant. But when I'm around other people, I feel drained, even if we don't even talk. And this book, Thought Forms, explained all of that in a way that completely changed the way that I see reality and the world. Okay? I shared this on Instagram recently and people begged me to make a video on this, so here we go. This is what I'm going to talk about. So first off, let me read you a little bit from this book called Thought Forms. So it says, thought forms directed towards individuals produce definitely marked effects These effects being either partially reproduced in the aura of the recipient and so increasing the total result or repelled from it. A thought of love and of desire to protect, directed strongly towards some beloved object, creates a form which goes to the person thought of and remains in his aura as a shielding and protecting agent. It will seek all opportunities to serve and all opportunities to defend, not by a conscious and deliberate action, but by a blind following out of the impulse impressed upon it. And it will strengthen friendly forces that impinge on the aura and weaken unfriendly ones. So here is the lesson from this. Let me kind of summarize my perception of this whole reading. Now think of it. Thought forms are not actually just within the brain. What the results show when it comes to this holographic nature of reality is that we are all interconnected with everyone else in our life. And that what we think of as our brain is in a way this symbol that we use for understanding matter, but in actuality, our thoughts that we think have some form of energetic form. We may not visibly be able to see it, just like that book called Man, Visible, Invisible. We may not visibly be able to see our thoughts, but they have an energetic structure and an energetic form that goes even beyond our brain, where our mind or our brain is. Now you could say that our mind actually exists beyond just our brain in the physical location, but actually exists far beyond our body, which, by the way, they've proven that there is an electromagnetic energy that emanates out of your heart field and emanates around your body. That's something that's already proven. Now, here's the interesting thing about thoughts. Within our body, also around our body, we have the accumulated thoughts that we think. And what happens is when we consistently think certain thoughts and feel certain emotions, it builds up our field in a certain way to where they then stay within the energetic structure of our body. That's when it's easier to create momentum. Think about like Abraham Hicks, who teaches think a better thought. I know I make fun of that concept sometimes because think a better thought, think a better thought. To me, sometimes it feels surface level if you're not looking at the identity side of things and healing. I think feeling it to heal it is also very powerful. But think about it, even with the Abraham Hicks idea, when you are thinking better thoughts, you are building and focusing on what you're thinking about, you are building more and more momentum within your field of more positive thoughts, with thoughts of a higher quality, which then makes it easier and easier for you to tap into them over and over again because there's more of them within your field. Now what happens is when people feel negative thoughts, let's use this little red example right here. Let's say somebody's feeling negative thoughts. And let's say they go around somebody else that also is thinking negative thoughts. What happens, and Eckhart Tolle, by the way, calls this a pain body, activating the pain body. Now, what happens is when you're around other people that also trigger within you those thoughts, you may have the illusion that that person is causing you to feel this way because they have it within their field. When in fact, they are bringing the awareness to you that that also exists within your field. They are just activating it because you have stuff in your field that is in resonance with it. Now what happens is when you think of someone else, you are energetically sending them energy. Now this is why, by the way, it is very important to learn the power of forgiveness and understanding that if you don't forgive someone else, you keep that energy within your own field. That was like me back in 2012, when I went through my awakening, realizing that even though at 15 years old, I never had to see my ex-stepmom again, who was physically, mentally, and like abusive and controlling, even though I never had to see her again in my life, I kept attracting people into my life that reflected back that same energy dynamic. Because within my field, I had a belief that I have to fight for my freedom. I had a belief that said women try to control me. So I'd attract a manager that was trying to control me, an ex-girlfriend that was trying to control me, and I had to fight for my freedom. because it was in my field, and then I would find myself attracted to other people that would reflect that back to me. So the thing about this is when you direct negative energy at anyone, you may believe it's going towards them, but it has to go through your field, and it leaves a residue of that negative energy in your field. So resentment towards someone in your life is staying within your energy field because you have an energetic structure around your body with the accumulated thoughts of what you consistently think and feel. So the power of this is when you start becoming aware of the thoughts that you think. When you start becoming aware of what energy you're trying to direct at someone else. Because remember, all the outer reality is a mere reflection of the energy that's within your thought forms. Your thought forms are literally like thoughts we think are in our mind. There's actually an energetic structure to this. This is something that fascinates me because I love studying something called collective consciousness, like meditations where we connect to the collective consciousness. Because I believe by channeling higher vibrational energy into our bodies, it affects our reality. Now, one thing I also believe, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too much, but I believe there are people that on the planet understand that the accumulated thoughts of the people affects reality. So if you can control the narrative, if you can control people's minds, and therefore you control their thought forms, therefore they may be less empowered and more likely to do the 9-to-5 job they hate. More likely to spend money to agree to this 40-hour-a-week work week thing for a job they hate or whatever it is. Keep people in that limited state. Now, the important part of understanding thought forms is understanding that what you must do is take ownership of your own field. Now, I sent a video to a friend of mine the other day explaining this, and I think it may have really landed with her, where she was going through a process of someone in her life that she was having resistance with, going through someone where she was not happy with someone in her life, and she would text me, and we would go back and forth because she was wanting guidance or assistance on understanding, like, this person's doing this stuff over here, and when they do this stuff, I feel this way. And basically what I had to explain, or what I explained, was that you believe it's this person causing you to feel that way. A lot of times there's a story we have where we blame someone else. We blame someone else. That's a way of not owning our own energetic field. We believe, oh, this person's doing this, therefore I feel this way. When in fact, it's not this person doing this that's causing you to feel this way. It's the meaning you're giving to this person that is causing you to feel that way. It's the thoughts about this person that's causing you to feel this way. Do you see the difference there? It's not this person making you feel negative. This person that's not coming around, not giving you attention, or whatever it is. It's not this person. It's the meaning and the thoughts about this person that's causing that. Huge difference. Because you cannot take ownership over what someone else does. What someone else does is what they do. And it's a neutral thing. The difference is understanding that you take ownership for the thoughts that you think, the people that you surround yourself, because remember this, the people that you surround yourself, let's use a different color for this, the people that you surround yourself also have their own energetic fields that have within it the accumulated thoughts that they think. Now what happens is when you're around these people, it literally rubs off on you. Now, if you're of a certain vibration or a quality of thought within your field, it doesn't affect you. You might say, well, okay, everywhere I go, and it's true, everywhere you go, there are thought forms. This is why you go to certain sacred places, you may feel very light because people are in prayer, they're in sacred thought. You may go someplace like a mall where there's a lot of consumerism, and you may feel a different energy. I'm not saying this is going to sound very bougie. I have not been in a Walmart in like 8 years because I don't enjoy going into a Walmart. I do not enjoy how I feel when I walk through a Walmart. There's so much dense energy in there, in my opinion, at least that's my experience. So I don't go through there. And I understand that where I go, if there are thoughts that are resonating with a certain quality, I will pick up on similar thought forms. And there's an analogy of this too, where there's these idea of, this could be a whole separate video. If you want me to make a video on something called pendulums, which are thought forms within the collective consciousness, like this video or comment below and let me know. But the idea is when you're on, say you're on a road and you're driving somewhere and someone cuts you off and you get super triggered. Now you could say, oh, I'm just getting super triggered because someone cut me off. Well, once again, remember, it's not the person that cut you off that triggered you. It's your thoughts about them cutting you off and what that represents to you.
Spread.
It might be that they cut you off, therefore they weren't considering me. It scared me. Whatever it is. I've had times people cut me off and I get pissed. I've had times people cut me off and I'm in such a good state that it doesn't affect me at all. It has nothing to do with me. It wasn't personal. There's a big difference there, because then I'm not activating the fields inside of myself of that energy. So when you're driving down the traffic, you could get triggered. It could have been as well, there's a lot more thought forms that are in traffic, in roads that you drive around through, that you then resonate with, because there are many people that get cut off on the road. Now, the purpose of this video right now is to help you expand your sense of what consciousness may be and what reality may be. And to understand that you also have an energetic field around your body, and when you send energy towards someone else, what happens is, yes, thought forms go towards that person. However, if that person stays in a high vibrational state, it doesn't affect them. They do not resonate with it. That's why a lot of times you'll see people ask people, like, what is the best way I protect myself from negative energies? And many times what I hear, whether it's Abraham Hicks or Bashar, some esoteric teachers on this, they say you don't need to create some energetic barrier where you would visualize a shield around yourself and you walk out in a bubble in society and nobody can touch you. That could be a permission slip people use, but even more powerful than that is just raise your own frequency, raise your own heart field, raise and increase the positive energy within your energetic field, and it won't affect you. If you believe you need to protect yourself, you believe there's a whole bunch of negative evil in the world that's coming after you. But instead what you can do is focus on your own field. Focus on your own energy field. It says right here that, thus may we create and maintain veritable guardian angels round those we love, and many a mother's prayer for a distant child thus circles around him, though he knows not the method by which her prayer is answered. The idea is that when you send positive energy, things of a higher quality of vibration towards other people, it does benefit them in a positive way. And when that leaves your field, guess what? You leave the field of those positive thoughts you send towards someone else, it's also within your field. Instead of the negative energy going out, which when people say, like, what you put out is what you get back, what you put out stays within your field, the intention you have. What you put out good comes back to you as well, because you're building your energetic field, the energetic thought forms. Now, for myself, I'll share a couple more esoteric things. Here we go. I'm going to go deeper on this video. There was an old thing I used to watch called Cosmic Disclosure, and this is more esoteric, but it was someone that was talking about their experiences with talking with different, I guess you could say, this, I don't even know how deep I want to go with this. Basically, from a different level of consciousness, someone was talking about their experiences where they interacted with these beings, where what they did, these spiritual meditation states, or maybe it was actually physically, but basically there were these beings that what they would do is they would send energy to that, these little like pockets of energy to that of people on the planet. And what they were able to see is they would get in these little egg pods, and in these little egg pods, they were able to project their consciousness to people on the planet, and they were able to see people's potential timelines and futures. And what they would do is if they wanted to positively impact someone's timeline, they would pop a bubble of information within their energy field that then would go into their field that would affect their timeline in a positive way. Now, I know this sounds esoteric, and maybe I'll start sharing more and more esoteric stuff on my channel. I just know that if you're listening to this and you haven't heard me talk about esoteric stuff like that, you're gonna be like, well, that sounds freaking weird. But nonetheless, imagine, that reminds me of this whole thought form idea. Higher vibrational, higher dimensional beings that are able to, in a way, impact. Remember, we're in a hologram. We're eternal spiritual beings living temporary human experiences. We may not visibly be able to see certain pockets of energy, but what if people in meditation send pockets of energy towards people, and that within it, it's a positive information that goes within their field that affects the potential timelines, the decisions, the energies they embody along the way. So these are very interesting things to think about. Now, in general, though, the most powerful way for you to affect your own reality is to focus on your own energetic field and to focus on the quality of thoughts you're thinking and stop believing. This is what I've been doing. The other day something happened where I got triggered by something someone said to me, and then I realized I'm triggered because someone else said something to me. I realized, wait, this is within my own energy field, and if I buy into this trigger and I argue with this person and come at it from this resistant place, I'm only activating more and more of this energy. So instead, I didn't take the bait. I observed my thoughts, I observed how I felt, I let myself feel it, but I didn't continue to feed it. I didn't continue to argue with it. And what ended up happening,
It is done. We stopped her. No. The damage is too great. They're about to... Sister, what have they done to you? Her death demands vengeance. All who betrayed dragonkind to the Titans will face our wrath.
Khadgar, we cannot win this fight. We have to get out of here!
If there's one thing I've learned from all the battles I've fought, it's that...
ironically enough, is everything smoothed out better than I could even imagine it because I wasn't entertaining the resistant thought form energy within my field. Now, in the whole idea of the pendulums, these collective thought forms, there's pendulums around everything. Being Republican, being Democrat, sports teams, people, YouTube channels, there's pendulums around. And the idea is that when you try to force the pendulum out of your life, you only resist it more and more. You only feed it. This is why the key is observing the thought forms. This is why, by the way, meditation is so damn powerful. You're observing the thoughts that come into your field, come into your mind. And when you're not resisting them, you allow them to come in and to naturally leave easily. And then what you do is meditate. You bring through higher vibrational energy into your body. And that higher vibrational energy you bring into your body increases the quality of the thoughts within your field. And then what happens is as you go out into the world and you interact with other people feel that magnetic energy off of you. People resonate with you and want to be around you. And you repel people that don't vibrate with you at that higher level. There are people that only like drama. They only have so much red, they have a whole bunch of red within their field, and they only like being around other people that have that red within their field. And they can't relate to someone that's just more positive or more in that embodied state. So if there's one thing that will change your life more than anything else, it is the power of consistent meditation. When you meditate and observe your thoughts, you lessen the momentum of negative thoughts. You turn those negative thoughts in your field, you turn them positive when you observe them neutrally, and then you allow higher vibrational energy into your body. Literally imagine that of a connection going into the top of your head, into your heart, into Mother Earth. Let this energy stream flow through you, allow in higher vibrational energy. And as you do, and as you focus on purifying your field, which also sometimes means purifying and detoxing certain people in your life, certain things in your life, certain habits in your life. I notice that when I'm consistently watching Netflix and I focused on shows, and there's some of them I really like. I was watching a show called Last Kingdom, which is like a Viking show. But I can tell it does activate certain darker thoughts within my field. I was watching a show called Succession, which is a show about like business and narcissism. Definitely it affects my field in some way. And the key is being aware of how things affect you. Doesn't mean you need to run around all worried that things are going to affect you negatively, but do become aware of what your field has inside of it. When I don't watch Netflix and when I meditate more often, my field is more pure, I find more synchronicity in my life, and I find myself resonating with higher vibrational people in a deeper way.
Fly in and disappear. They've also recorded a quarter-second time anomaly. Now, let me stop you here. I've also done time anomaly studies, and we did this in Vanished. Watch it on Amazon. Brought in 2 scientists who found a time anomaly in front of the cave dwellings at Mesa Verde National Park. Friends, they were absolutely, completely, 1,000% stunned they found it. They replicated the test multiple times. It was there. Why was it there? And why were we looking for it? Because there was a huge group of people that disappeared in Mesa Verde, a tribe of Native Americans that the Park Service even admits they don't even know where they all went. So could there be a portal there? Could there be a multi-dimension area there? Well, I doubt the Park Service would ever let anyone do the level of testing that they're doing at Skinwalker Ranch above Mesa Verde National Park. But there is a time anomaly there for sure. And we did that 4 or 5 years ago. Now again, I'm not anywhere near Travis's level. He's a genius. And I'm not even anywhere in the level of these guys that are working for the government. I'm just your dumb second-hand quarterback that likes to review things. That's it. Now they bring in a guy named Nathan Whitehead who had a flamethrower. And they put him up in a basket at 31 feet and they shot the flame into this entity that's above the triangle. Initially they said that when they looked at it, they thought that the flame split. And then Travis did an analysis, and he thought maybe it split like that because it was looking for oxygen to go to. It made a lot of sense. Now, Cameron Prince, another individual, brought in a Tesla coil, handheld one. And David Mason brought in several cameras that were high-resolution FLIR. And then they reiterated that almost every experiment in that triangle gave them some data that they didn't have before, that they thought was interesting. So they started their night of research with a couple of rockets shooting them into that 31-foot level. And then one of the cameras caught the object, the rocket, going up and slightly diverting, going around, and then going straight back. It's like it went up to that object, curved around it, and rather than curving and going straight out, it curved, came back, and then went straight. Which rockets don't do that. So it's some kind of force that forced it out, but then brought it back. Very strange. Now, the analysis they did on TV isn't the real one I wanted to listen to. I wanted to listen to the chatter between Travis and the other scientists that he brought on board that wasn't talked about on TV. The Tesla gun was lifted in the basket up to 31 feet. High frequency, high voltage, and it shoots something that looks just like lightning. Something that 600 volts, they shot it right into this blob above the triangle. Nothing happened. So, what were they trying to do? Just trying to poke the bear to get to do something? Poking it, trying to get it to respond overtly? Again, I've never heard a mission statement come out of these guys. And every project I've ever been on, anywhere, had a mission statement. I just think it's odd they don't. Then the flamethrower went up. It split the flame like I thought. They did a high-speed analysis of how the rocket moved. They used an object called near IR. And that is high-speed IR that is catching something. Well, above this blob, and to me it reminded of a close-up version of the sun without refined edges and just a lot of little dots. There was one thing up above near the top that looked like an orb, and it was moving with intent, and it moved into the blob and disappeared. I think that was something big. Now, they also talked about when they've done this before, they also saw another orb that was flying past this blob. So, are these orbs coming into or out of this object? And what are they? And where are they coming from? And where are they going? Now, this is my stupid mind working. So I'm thinking that these guys are doing everything they can to get this object to do something. I think simplistic terms. Why don't they get, and you guys are going to laugh, but that's just me. Why don't they get a crop duster? Yeah, regular old crop duster. Back when I was a kid, my dad had a contract to clean swimming pools commercially. And every once in a while, during the summer, I'd clean pools for him. And part of what we used to flush filters in swimming pools was this stuff called diatomaceous earth. Natural product. It's like crushed shells, but it's extremely fine powder. Why not fly a crop duster over the top of this thing at like 200 feet and drop a couple tons of diatomaceous earth over the top and see if that settles over it and exposes it? Okay, stupid idea. I got you. Why not drop colored water over it and see if the water attaches itself in some way? Okay, maybe a bad idea. But there's people out there much smarter than me that could think of using this analogy with a crop duster to fly right over the top of this thing and expose it for what it is. This man, Jay Stratton, he actually studied the ranch in the past. And he came back as part of this team. The company was called Omnitech. Jim Royston was the CEO. And what they did is they set up antennas looking up to pick up a signal from the International Space Station as it flew over the ranch. What they wanted to see is what would happen and if that transmission would be interrupted by this object over the triangle. Well, they used LiDAR. Total time, the scientists stated that the space station would be able to be picked up by the ranch was 8 minutes. They extended it to 10 minutes at one point. Well, the LiDAR drone, run by Omnitech, went up into the air and was filming this, and suddenly the GPS malfunctioned and they lost the space station signal. And Eric's signal on their own data table crashed. Essentially, everything crashed. Now, this isn't unusual for what's happened there. And I know a lot of people, because I read your comments, a lot of people are upset thinking that the guys are fabricating these events, doing this for entertainment purposes. But you got to remember that these companies are bringing in their best instruments and telling the public they're failing. I don't think that's a good advertisement for them. So I don't think that they'd be doing this unless it was truly happening. And these are some of the most sophisticated pieces of equipment in the world. But they all fail simultaneously. It's almost impossible unless there's some other advanced intellect controlling that area. And they reported that there's a 1.651 gigahertz signal straight up above the triangle. It's beaming like their words, a beacon. At the same time, they lost communication over the triangle with the space station. So they have this 8-minute range while the space station flies over that they can pick it up. Well, right in the middle of that is the triangle. As the space station flew over the triangle, they lost all connectivity with it. As it reaches the outer perimeter of that 8-minute segment, boom, communications picked up again. So something is either obstructing or blocking them from picking up that signal. Then they shot a rocket up and it split the LiDAR, and they said that was a super surprising event. Second rocket they shot did nothing. In fact, they lost it, and they talked about the area being cloaked or masked for the second launch. Then they downloaded the second launch and what the LiDAR picked up. And the LiDAR is up above this, shooting down with a series of lasers. And when you're looking at FLIR or LiDAR, it shows colors. And in the middle of this triangle, they have an obscure looking, kind of circular blackness. You're looking down at the property from above. The object's here, ground's here. So as this drone is with the LiDARs up here, it picks up this black blob. And then it gets green, yellow, and red shades. And they said that something was blocking the LiDAR in that black zone. And they said, well, it could be a black hole,